It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time I spit my outro set on air. Hey, George. Um, Actually, I think one time on Hungar's show, there was some guy shit talking me in the audience, and I gave him Google Map instructions on how to get to my place.
Nice. Welcome to the
you
show, ladies and
you
gentlemen.
you
We
were
were having
there.
a conversation before the show, and first time ever. I'm pretty certain. Welcome to the show, you people on Facebook. I'm going to try and figure out how to get back into Facebook so I can like kind of monitor your comments because I don't think they're going to show up here. I don't know how any of this works. Just winging it as usual. Justin, how you doing tonight?
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell and George, welcome to the show. George, you know where the link is over on Discord. You want to hang out and talk law and order in the galaxy. I came
There is
across
none.
my old game, Freedom in the Galaxy, and I'm like, I've got like 4 copies of it because it's an old like Avalon Hill or SPI, war game kind of thing, and I kept having to buy copies of it to just to get like one edition that would be complete. So I've got like a lot of extras. What's up? You're curious? Haven't seen you in a while, man.
Yeah, you know what you should do with those extra copies? Piece them together so they're like evenly mismatched parts, and then sell them as incomplete versions of the game
Yeah,
for people that want to do the same thing you did.
the only problem is I don't think anybody gives a shit. The
Yeah,
game is
well, you
40 some odd years old,
put the post out there, and
and
they will come.
yeah, I
Yeah,
should look into it. I've never even played it. I just it had like a really iconic cover on it, with a guy and a girl and a lizard man, like kind of like in a futuristic city, and crap is going on all around him, and it looked really cool as a kid. And I was like, as a youngster, I was like, one of these days I'll be able to afford that game, and I'll play it and it'll be great. And then I heard it's like Twilight Imperium. You need like 18 people to play and 4 weekends in a row uninterrupted to get a good game in. It's
and
one
the
of those.
weeks in between.
Yeah, it looks really overly complicated, but who knows? Maybe when I get to shop, I'll put a copy in the glass, and someone will be like, "Oh, I want to play that game." I'm like, "Okay, we'll get 4 friends, and we'll meet here on a Tuesday afternoon, and we'll play it."
Make sure you bring enough money for pizza for 5 days.
Yep, yep, yep.
Uh,
So let me see if I can actually find Facebook because I never use Facebook. I
it's
use Facebook.
pronounced Faceberg. Get it right.
I do use Messenger.
It's named after its owner.
I get what do you call it? I use it to communicate with Raven and Grim and George and Dave and some other people every once in a
Yeah.
while, but it's just like a time sink, and Facebook doesn't really like me much. They let me share one thing a day, and then for the rest of the day, it's like, oh, we're sorry, we're having trouble. You can't post anything today.
Hmm.
Now, where the heck would I find it? Let's go to me, see if there's anything. Oh, hey, there it is. And nobody's there. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
that's gonna happen.
yeah. No, have you seen these though? I just saw. I'm looking at the ad right now. It's these dice. They're coins that are hollow on the inside, and it's got like a
Oh,
little gem, and on the outside of the coin has different numbers, so that when you flip it or whatever it lands, one of the gems, one of the numbers will be highlighted by the gem being, and it's one of the positions, I guess. Whether it's I guess a two-sided die would be pointless that way, but they look kind of cool. I was just talking to George the other day about other games that have used coins and do use coins. It's kind of a cool little gimmicky thing. I could see it being
I
something to
see the
have.
yeah.
They're,
The
they
numbers
are
are really small.
admittedly cool looking, but
I feel like they'd break easy.
maybe I can see that. Oh my god.
What?
The picture of me on Facebook with no facial hair and short hair and looking like a cop and shit.
Yeah, you gotta like crop that for the your author's picture.
Yeah, that was a long freaking time ago and
Yeah,
50 pounds ago.
50 pounds.
What?
Oh, I wish I was 50 pounds ago. I was 10 when I was 50 pounds ago.
Okay.
I've been fat for a long time, bro.
I have always gone up and down throughout the years, but right before COVID, I was down to like 155 and just like loving life.
I've never been that light. Space narc.
Space narc. What are you doing, George? Get in here. We all There's just the
Yeah,
two of us. There's room for at least one more.
four. We can have four
I
more,
know, I know.
but don't. It gets too crowded.
Yeah, yeah. Five or six is pushing it.
Four
I don't
is
know how people do 10. It's
four,
like
four is on the rocker. Three is an optimal number. You know that, right? In these things, three is the optimal number.
really.
Yeah,
You think so?
yeah. There have been studies.
I kind of like four. That way you got like two teams of two, and you can have you know
This is not debate class.
no, but
This is listen to Justin. He's right class. Even though he makes this noise all the fucking time. I gotta break my habit of doing that. What? So, finishing some work, bro. What's this? Do you see me? I'm at work right now. I'm doing my job right now. Do you see me not being here? Oh. So space cops, huh?
well, I was thinking more along the lines of like, for example, I'm gonna use a lot of Traveler references in here. In
Traveler.
the Traveler game, when you're creating a planet, there's a universal planetary profile, digit of numbers, and each number represents a thing. Well, one of
Yeah,
them is law
space
level.
cop.
One of them is law level, and there's a chart. A zero is this, and a 16 is that because uh, it's hexy 16 system always for some reason. Even though you use 2d6, it's like why not go to 18 or maybe it is 18. But either way, there's let's just say at least 10 different rankings. And uh, the higher, the more strict it is. I think. Like so, for law level, a zero would be there are no laws. Okay, cool. Um, and I was thinking, some of this might help with our shared universe as well. Trying to get an idea of what things are legal and what things are nice, Mac. Nice. You
Oh,
too, man. You want to pop in? The links up there
yeah.
in Discord at the top of my channels, uh, live stream links. It's fucking funny.
Space Precinct was the show I was thinking of.
Oink oink pew pew and Bubba. Check you
Yeah.
guys out. Nice. You just want to just freaking
Have you ever seen the movie Space Cop?
no. Well, maybe.
No, you haven't.
Okay. I
Trust me. You haven't.
The- I I think I'm conflating it with the. Was there a Space Patrol TV show like really late at night, just really dumb and really bad? Was that a
Oh,
thing, or was it
Space
called something
Patrol.
else? It's funny you mentioned bacon. I had a Philly cheesesteak tonight with bacon.
Yeah, there was a 1960s TV show.
No, no, this wasn't '60s. This was like,
Yeah, you're thinking of Space Precinct. That's
oh yeah, yep, yep. That sounds more like it. Um,
yeah.
is it me
Which
or
and that only did one season.
yeah, I was surprised it
Uh,
even got that far.
it
I ordered the
didn't.
Philly cheesesteak from
There
a
was
place
25
called
episodes.
Charlie's, and they put lettuce, tomato, and pickles on it.
That's weird. That's a burger, not a Philly cheesesteak.
It had three kinds of cheese: Philly cheese, Philly,
Yeah,
cheesesteak,
you want good cheese. Usually, it's just American cheddar,
or provolone, or something like that.
provolone. Yeah, American cheddar is the standard. Uh,
Yeah, it sounds like the precinct one. Uh, there's so many, possibilities for like a space cop kind of thing. And I was thinking about it, like, would there be, or would you guys out there, if you were running a sci-fi game, would it be like each world would have its own laws and that's it, or would there be universal laws that are things that are legal and illegal throughout the galaxy, and everybody just knows you don't do these things. Of course, people are going to do them anyways, but would there be certain things that are just out of the question? Because I noticed where I was thinking, in a lot of TV shows and things like that, like like it seems like the Klingons could get away with anything if it was violent. It's just like, oh, that's just the way they are, you know,
yeah,
kind of thing. Unless they're in Starfleet like Worf, which is, as Bubba would say,
weird.
dumb and dumber. Um,
Wow. It was a what if scenario or like what do they call that? An axalt?
yeah, it's kind of like a lot of things I think about that way. They're like they're one of a kind, and you're watching, like, a lot of people want to run, the grim, dark, dirty nobodies. They're never going to amount to anything, and they're just eking by day after day. But a lot of the most famous stories are about these people at the freaking top, right? You know,
Yeah, competency porn.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah, competency porn is freaking. It's good sometimes, but sometimes you need flavor, right?
Right. I
It's
mean,
like
because like
pizza.
even
It's
Dune would qualify as that, wouldn't you think?
yeah, it's like pizza. You can eat it 6 times a week, but you need something different on the seventh day.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's just gruel at that point. What?
Bubba
I
says I
I,
like the. Oh, go ahead.
I gotta bring everything back to a pizza analogy, okay? Even if it's forced. You got a
Mhm.
problem with that? You need a new co-host. Hey, Hungar.
What's happening? We were just talking about you, brother. You want to pop in, say hi? The link's in my Discord at the top of the channels.
Yeah.
Right, Mac. I was trying to, think about that. To help with the stories I'm writing. Do I want to, especially since it's a space western, so you got to have things like sheriff's deputies, marshals, rangers, and how would you translate them uh, to a sci-fi situation? That's and still maintain the western flavor of all those western tropes, but still make it make sense. And I was thinking about it. It kind of would be out on the frontier. The whatever is the unexplored sort of barrier between the empire and uncharted space, or at least unexplored space. You'd probably be able to get away with the rangers, the marshals, the local governors, that sort of thing. But as you get closer to the core worlds, you'd have something probably a lot more strict, and it would make sense to have that strictness to use as a tool or a vehicle for the characters and players to not want to be in the core. You know, it's too oppressive. It's too homogenized. No, no worries, Hungar. You know, maybe we'll see you Monday. But if you change your mind, you want to pop in and give us a ration of shit. You know, we
Yeah,
all miss you, brother.
yeah.
Eh,
We definitely miss you, bro. Sorry we missed Monday too.
oh, dude, I know. I
Um,
still feel like shit for that. But I
fuck.
made up for it, and I went over to James's show, and there he was, and we hung out and did stuff.
I woke up late in the afternoon, so
Tell me about it. I didn't get up till 11 today, and
yeah.
I had a mountain of stuff to do. I as soon as I woke up, which you know Jackie was up for like an hour, he should have woke me up. I'm like, dude, why did you wake me up? I was like, oh, I was just laying
That,
in bed, and I had to do all kinds of crazy shit today, and I managed to get it all done, and no nap. But then again, I've only been up like 6 hours, so if I actually need a nap after 6 hours, oh, you don't even have your. Are you going to be there a while, brother? You know, like days and weeks and type of thing. Which you know,
yeah.
right? You know, because we were talking about this. You know, space travel. You know, it's got to be a thing in order for it to be a real sci-fi, but it can't be you know like Star Wars fast. You know, where freaking an X-wing fighter can go from planet to planet. You know, in just a little period of time. That's too magical even for me.
Salvage Marines. Uh,
Mhm. I actually like some of these ideas. I need to grab my note. Till Wednesday or Thursday. So you're
yeah.
gonna do a show Monday?
Uh, um.
Where is my notebook?
Hey, the document we have for the game. Did you change anything on it? I didn't notice.
I added wealth and some things like that down at the bottom.
Okay. In your section,
No,
I
at
had
the after you did what you did, I went to the bottom of that and added some more stuff.
okay. You can rip out stuff that I put in there that are isn't relative.
No, no,
I
I like it as notes because I don't think of it as anything even remotely near to be the finished project or product.
yeah, okay.
It's just a place for us to more definitively have notes and toss back ideas and what have you. Give me a second, guys. I want to write some of these ideas down.
Yeah, I added that list, or at least the four that I could decipher from Max's live stream the other day. Um, there were 5 points you said, right?
5 points of what?
Remember the stream we did on Max's show the other day?
Oh yeah, I've got that written down downstairs.
Yeah, okay. I put the four I could figure out with the
Uh
fifth
huh.
one with a question mark. I don't know. I rewatched that segment. I left a timestamped thing on the video, right? Because you
Yeah.
can just add a timestamp by typing in the number. And I said the show starts here, 3 hours and like 40 minutes in, like right at the end. So if people like go and they see the comments, they click on it, just takes them to the end. You can skip 3 hours and 40 minutes of this 3 hour and 45 minute live stream. Uh, oh, what the fuck?
By the way, George watched that show with you, me, and Mr. Max, and he enjoyed it and got a couple ideas for his own thing.
Who? Sorry, I missed that. I was reading the comments.
Oh, George. I don't know if Dave did, but George from Emperor's Choice watched Mr. Max's show with the three of us and
Yeah.
liked it. Right, Bubba. I it's especially like when if you want to run something like a Han Solo type character that's going to go from place to place, you kind of need that. but you know, yeah, it really I guess depends on the game.
Yeah.
Some things, with the jump portals is cool, but I find that too often those things are like closed for repairs or inaccessible for dumb reasons because the GM said so, and the players would be uh,
Okay, so we're doing that, but obviously in our shared universe, there are jump portals, but they're not really like they're placed out in a system, and until that system has like a rigid government, they're just like use it and we collect our small tax or whatever,
yep, yep.
right? Like,
Otherwise, your players feel stifled and
yeah,
locked into a place, and
yeah. If the local system, because I like the way it's done in Troy Rising, which is a 3 book series I've recommended to you several times. Um, and you're lucky I don't have my own book club because you would have already read those 3 books. Uh, because like the race that creates them in that series, because it's not a low alien world. They just pop them in places, and if you can afford the shipping fees, you can use it. If you
right.
can't, right? So, which leads to the conflict because they're put in one's put in orbit like between I think it's Earth and the Moon, right? Little Lagrange point,
Uh-huh.
and it's like modern times, right? It's like the year 2002 or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So we're at that level of technology, and we end up getting conquered because the alien race that put it in there just doesn't give a shit. And another alien race comes along and says, "Hey, look, there's a place we can we can subjugate."
I totally
Uh,
agree with this statement from George because I've
uh,
used it already in two out of three of my stories. I want to say, and I've never seen X Threat, the video game, Mac. So
yeah, it's a trading game uh, with spaceships,
okay, or like
like
ginormous versions. I never knew how to spell that word.
what?
Ginormous versions of the ones in Stargate. Right. I like the idea of you approach it, then you know
Yeah,
throw out your bitcoins or whatever, and they say where you going, and they do the clicky thing, and whoosh, there you go. But at the
yeah,
same time, it also leaves a sort of a record. I was trying to explain to Jackie about um, airplanes having to file flight plans and things like that. So there's no real you know sneaking around with an airplane anymore. Like the old days, you could just get in your airplane and go somewhere. And
Eh, yes and no. It's a lot more laxed than you'd think with private craft.
right, but there's still a record. If someone
Yeah. Well,
and
you
when
gotta
you
land
land,
somewhere.
yeah, you got to land. Unless you're landing in a field in Bolivia, then
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
there's
like you take off somewhere, and then you fly, and then you land in a field in Bolivia, and then you take off, you land at your actual scheduled destination. And they go like, "What took you an extra 7 hours?" You know,
we were doing loop de loops.
because well, where did you get the fuel?
Hey, didn't you guys see that plane fall out of the sky on the news the other day?
No.
I forget. It didn't crash. It just like swirled in place and just fell and crashed, killing 60 people. Like in
Fuck.
Colombia or Brazil or something. I think it was just yesterday.
What was the
Uh,
CIA up to?
I don't know, but I've never seen a plane do that. I've seen them,
I've seen
coast and
stunt pilots do that kind of shit, like as a stunt, but they usually pull up at the end.
no, this one didn't pull up, and
Yeah, I've seen stunt pilots do that too. Fail to pull up.
I thought about doing that, Mac, but I think what we agreed was
Space
something akin to
bypass.
the mankind found a couple of the old ones those old gates, and then just reverse engineered them, and then hid away the originals. So like, oh,
Yeah.
we came up with this great new invention. That way
Well,
they have the
we
monopoly on it.
never actually went into detail on that, but if you want to do it that way, like fine. But
Well, I mean, nobody, it's like it's not going to be like it may be canon, but
are
nobody
we ever
knows.
gonna write that story? So
Right, right. Well,
like,
yeah, it wasn't a
yeah,
tailspin.
yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It was. I've never. I've seen all kinds of aerial
Just
phenomena.
let me know when we go to write that tech bible so we can put that in there. That's all I'm
Right. No,
saying,
just
right?
just just as just as like an idea between you and me and everybody else who wants to write those stories of the kind of lies and things that the governments would do. They're going to
Yeah,
find this thing and then say, "Oh yeah, that was us."
yeah,
Just as a kind of a little blurb.
yeah. We actually gotta sit down and fucking write that sometime.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of it, Bubba. It was just the weirdest freaking plane crash I've ever seen. I've seen a lot. I saw a helicopter crash. You know, I want to say 75 feet tops from my kindergarten class. You know, and I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. What's up, the Great Yakubi? And each gate leads to a specific other gate, so you may
Yeah,
have to make many jumps to get where you want to go. That's how I
yeah.
would do it if it was like ancient. It's like it just goes here. It's a one way thing.
Well, that's how we're doing the ones in our shared universe, right? That way
For the most part, yeah. So that
we have the
that
isolated.
so that you can't just go anywhere. You got to go here to make it like George was talking about, like a kind of like a railroad. There was this
Yeah,
game called Warp War, made by Micro Games, one of the little games that came in the little plastic envelopes, and that's exactly how it was. Each star had like a warp line or something like that. You could only this star would go here, back or forth, but that's it. You
yeah.
know,
And then
I
you
didn't
gotta
want
get
I didn't want to make it like a river flowing. It only goes like east to west or north to south. I wanted to go
well,
back either way.
yeah, 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 yeah. It goes
Otherwise,
either way, but then you have to transverse to another gate in that system to get to the next one over. And the more centralized those worlds are, the more gates they have connecting that area, right? Or the more centralized those systems are, the more the less grand trunk they are, and more like interconnected because of commerce, right? Like obviously, if you have a bunch of commerce going from system one to system three, and they got to go to system two first, you eventually just build a gate between the two.
yeah, I was kind of thinking, like okay, think of it like a coin. If you come in from this direction, you go that way. If you come in from
Yeah,
this way, you go that way, kind of thing. Make it
yeah,
kind of simple. That
yeah.
way,
I, I,
and how would that work if people were coming out of it at the same time? Would that even be a
well,
possibility?
if it's big, or they have like internalized scheduling, so it won't allow more than one ship to transit at a time, like a safety system, right?
Sure, yeah, I could see
So you
certain.
end up like traffic lines for the game, like at the tolling
Well, no, I mean,
booths.
like, if you're looking at it, right, from the side, and there's a ship coming out from either end at the same time, or
Oh,
one ship's going in, but it looks like it's transforming into another ship because another ship's coming out. You know what I mean? How it
yeah,
would look, from time on occasion, it wouldn't be like it would probably be better if you like one at a time kind of thing. But you
yeah,
literally, if you're warping space, etc., you could have that where on occasion, it's like this big ship is transforming to some other ship, kind of
yeah.
visual effect. But that would be just a goof. Um,
To your question and the thing, I don't care.
all right. And I could see, certain planets or systems might have, half a dozen different gates because it's important. Or it's like a
Yeah,
central hub
but
or
they
a
go to
next.
different localized areas, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, you wouldn't want to have. You might even need to have them a certain distance apart. Otherwise, they start messing with each other.
Hmm.
Which would make for an interesting thing. The first time they put two warp gates in a system, and like they're too close and they're causing all kinds of weird shit. And maybe when you have two
Yeah.
of them too close to each other, you've got things from the warp coming out or something.
I don't know if you want to get too
40K.
yeah, well, I was thinking more Lovecraftian, but yeah, 40K would be.
I kind of like the idea of keeping it or making it visually kind of like Babylon 5. I really like the way they made it look when the ships were in the warp.
Oh well, it's
Like,
relative to how you write it, but yeah, if you want that to be the thing, I'd probably skip over that, like skip over being in the warp story wise. But that's just me.
yeah, otherwise, you've got to explain that, whether it's, what was it? What was that freaking movie? Got it. I can't. What the
Event
hell is it?
Horizon.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you want to go that route? Do you want to go with the
No,
Babylon 5? Do you want to
yeah,
go the,
I like the instant transference, like Stargate or a lot of those other
yeah,
ones where you just like pop in one end, you pop out the other, and there's no reference in between.
yeah.
Red shift, blue shift.
Yeah, just the visual effects of it.
Yeah.
But I also, if you're going to do that, then you do have a great way to be able to stop criminals. Think about like in Star Wars when the Millennium Falcon is leaving Tatooine with
Yeah.
Luke and Ben. You know,
Well, it allows you to know where they're going, but if they get there before you, and if the system is designed so it can't be shut down or overrated for
Mhm.
security reasons, um, and if the local system just doesn't have the infrastructure, like where we're talking about having all our stories set, none of those systems would really have the infrastructure to have space patrols or
Right, but imagine this though, like with the Luke and Ben and Han Solo, if if the Empire if they had to use these kind of gates, the Empire could just shut it down and like you're
yeah.
not leaving. You know,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if the system is designed, well, first of all, the Empire in our story just doesn't give a shit what's happening in the world, so that
right,
that infrastructure would never get involved. And I would recommend saying put a hard stop on anyone writing in the world ever having that kind of authority pop up.
right. Just
Right?
because you take away from the ability to run it as a Western, and if you do
Yeah,
have to have the authority come in, it's like a
it never
marshal.
gets yeah, it never gets to the like they might have the threat of an imperial battle cruiser, but no one's ever going high enough up the food chain to shut a gate down.
Right, and you want to
Yeah,
have that sort of feel of like the Texas Rangers coming to town or new sheriffs in town, but it's like
yeah,
one guy and his crew, you know,
yeah,
and they've got to kind of get a handle on this, let's call it like this lawless world that's getting a little uppity, or maybe somebody's you know some noble or something like their kid got killed on this planet, so someone sends an investigative team there,
well,
and
it,
then you
it,
lose the team, and you know
it's like my first short story. I was thinking about rewriting it so the lawman was like actually an agent of the water reclamation. Like the bad
well,
guy
you
actually
know, George.
the bad guy of the story was fucking with like a water replicator on a planet.
Oh, okay.
And that's why the lawman's after him, not because he's been killing people and terrorizing a village.
Just some sort of
You fucked with
infringement.
corporate profits. Right? It's not even a lawman.
It's not even law.
Sure.
It's like what did contract enforcer, I think Bubba
Yeah.
said, or something like that.
Yeah. uh,
Yeah, the other day I was watching the old show. It's not the movie; it's the show from like the '60s, the Wild Wild West. And I think those guys were like government agents or something that kind of went around the West and kind of,
Uh-huh.
I guess it could be some kind of, if you go that direction, like sort of that slightly off the wall way of having these agents from like back east that are coming into the West.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that idea too. Like the Pinkertons, or
Mhm.
the actual government, or something with more weight behind them, but not like the full freaking weight of the entire government just coming
Yeah,
down on you. That takes away from. I mean, unless you want to use it to where as a tool to throw the character into jail, but then he's gonna break out kind of thing. Just
I
to
want.
yeah, like no
I want
SWAT teams and
to.
black ops coming in at getting taking somebody out.
I want. I actually wanted to talk about that comment that Crafty had up there. Um, that story in Babylon 5 is called Third Space.
Yeah, wasn't it one of the movies?
Yes, it was one of
Yes,
the
I have
movies.
all the movies on DVD now. Uh,
That's the one thing I don't have is all the movies. I
I've
have
actually got
the
I've got an extra copy of the pilot,
I have
autographed by
that. I
autographed
have
by
the
J. Michael himself, and I've got the
lucky
whole
bastard.
series now, the movies, and now I just need to sit Jackie down with the freaking opener things and strap him in. All right, dude, you're watching Babylon 5
Yeah.
Yeah,
from
the
what was it, Clockwork Orange?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
in terms like the subject of Law and Order, they had one of the best episodes in sci-fi history, I think, on
Repo
Law and
man.
Order, where they had that actor who played Chucky. He's like a guy. He's a serial killer, and they have this like memory wipe thing where they when they send you to prison, they just wipe your memory and you just work at the prison.
Oh
And
Right.
yeah, yeah.
he gets anybody anybody just pause it for now because it's really cool and there's lots of spoilers here. So for the next few seconds, if you want to go back and watch it, just skip out on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, where they turned him
Um,
into like a priest or something.
Yeah.
yeah, I think the ship crashes. He gets discovered by these monks. He joins the monastery, and it's a very Christian allegory of like the sort of original sin and things like that,
And
and
the
redemption.
gates of uh, what was it called? Oh, where Christ knows he's gonna get arrested.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
had to go through
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, the whole a lot of that imagery was actually very good. It was and very well done, and so the and I guess
I thought it was
in the
Stephen
show,
Dorff or something like that who played him.
yeah, Stephen Durf or Brad Dourif. Is it Brad Dourif? He's the guy who
Uh,
played like he played
Worm
Wormtongue
Tongue,
and
and
he
yeah,
played Billy in Cuckoo's Nest. He played yeah, and I think he did like a lot of horror films. Did Chucky? He
wasn't he
was in
also
the
in? He
Exorcist
was in
3.
Dune.
Dune, yeah, he was in Dune. He was yeah, the '84 Dune.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's great. He's one of those guys that kind of was like a wants to be a very serious sort of actor and doesn't even want to be glamorous. He's just really in for the art. He's one of those very method actors. So like he's gonna be if he's gonna play somebody with a Western accent, he's gonna have a Western accent on the set, off the set while the film is being filmed.
Method.
Um, so he but I guess to make money he started doing some like horror and things like that. So he kind of like he's embraced it, but he's I don't think he's big fan of having having have to
Yeah,
do
he always
horror.
gets like these parts though that you just feel sad for the guy, not
Yeah.
the character. It's like,
Hmm.
really? Oh, you're gonna
Yeah.
play this guy? You're gonna play the guy that everybody's gonna hate again?
Yeah.
Okay. Sucks to be you. He's probably the nicest guy in the world.
Oh yeah.
Like
He seemed
That was
uh,
a season 3 episode. Fuck man.
thank you. I couldn't pronounce that name, Mac. I just couldn't picture the word in my head. But yeah, yeah, it was very
Brother
very moving.
Edward. Uh,
to be
Yeah,
honest.
that
I
was
yeah.
wasn't.
that one
I
and
don't
the
think I.
one with Michael York playing the guy who thought he was King Arthur. Both those episodes
Yeah,
really hit me.
that's what I originally thought. That's a season 1 episode, Grail.
Uh huh.
Season 1 episode 15, and I was looking for the one we're talking about now, and it's season 3, episode 4. Uh, Passing through the Jessmate, whatever the fuck that means. Uh, weird episode title. But
Guess the Mahoney. Gethsemane. I don't know, but yeah, I'll have to go watch it just to be able to pronounce it. Thank you, Mac. Yeah, it was those two
Yeah,
episodes were it was showed how how much you had to look forward to in Babylon 5. It
yeah,
wasn't just the big story. Some of those filler episodes were like, boom. I know a lot of
yeah,
people shit on the episode with Jack the Ripper, but that one was still,
yeah,
if you can get past that, the other thing that's happening in that one, to be the guy or the girl, I guess, you've got to be willing to, you know, die for nobody.
ah,
You know what I mean?
the
To put yourself in the way, you know, of maybe even somebody less than you in danger. You're going to take the bullet, not for the president, but for, you know, somebody else. Are you willing to do that? That
yeah,
was kind of powerful.
the
Most people would
the
say, fuck no, but that wasn't the point.
it is a biblical reference, hardcore, because the Garden of Gethsemane is
Yes,
apparently where Jesus was arrested.
yeah, that's what I said.
yeah.
Oh,
And he knew
I
it was
missed that.
coming.
So
Yeah, he
yeah,
knew the guards were coming for him, and he had to sit there because he knew they were coming for him. He could have ran, he could have
Yeah,
disappeared, or used magic, or ninja
yeah.
smoke
smash.
bomb and got escaped or something. Um,
He
wouldn't
could
have
have
been
turned some
funny.
water into wine, got them all drunk.
Yeah,
In
but
the
he's
case,
he's like, I'm staying. I
in
know
the
what's
case of the
happening.
Babylon, in case of that Babylon 5 episode, it was like family of the victims or something that were coming after him.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that guy was dead. He
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
he wasn't that guy anymore, which is kind of a weird concept as well. Would that be going back to the topic of tonight, would that be a method of redemption or punishment that your empire would use? Would it instead of offing the dude and just disintegrating him, would they mind wipe him and turn him into a someone who could
Oh, fuck my hair.
be a benefit to society now that he's been fixed? And
Well, it depends on how heavily, like, what's the theological bent in this universe on nature over nurture. Because if we go, like, I could see a really good story right now where we as a collective forsake the whole nurture aspect of that theological debate
mhm,
and go with nature, and the system government is like the opposite of reality in the context of this story, and is pro nurture. So they're mind wiping like serial killers, but because it's a nature not nurture thing, the serial killers are just going around and killing people anyway because it's who they are as people. And then the government's like covering it up because they're people who have been mind wiped, and that's supposed to be the be all end all cure to your,
mhm.
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah. Like I guess it could be like, is it this, if you're like taking it from a religious angle, which would, like, the character in that episode would be doing so. You get mind wiped. Is it still your soul? Like
yeah, yeah,
did
yeah.
are you like now
That's
has like a new soul come into you after you've been mind wiped?
are you soulless?
Hmm. That's a
Um,
good
it,
question because
that's
if
the
you think about it,
theology of the
the world, it depends on your particular take on what happens. It's kind of like with the transporters we talked about. You
Mm,
disassemble yourself, you're dead. What comes back out of the other side of the transporter. Some people think it's you. And some people, argue that uh, no, that's just a uh,
very good facsimile. I don't
yeah.
know. It depends. It depends, right? It
It
becomes
depends on whether
normative.
or not the soul link, is severed, or if it's tied to each and every molecule of the being, or you know,
It's
case by case basis. Maybe I don't know. It's a toughie.
it's insubstantial, so it connects to you wherever you are, even if you've been ripped apart molecularly. You
Right,
know,
and the same with the mind wiping. Maybe it's part of God's plan to give you a second chance, or maybe it's mankind artificially demanding a second chance, saying, no, we'll take it from here, God. This guy's getting a second chance, and or would it actually like split your soul in half? Okay, there's the good version, and well, he's now alive, but the old dead version is, you know, doing
yeah.
its thing in its perspective reward in the afterlife. Star
Um,
Trek, a universe full of clones.
have you guys ever heard of Rupert
Clone you.
Sheldrake?
Heard of what?
Rupert Sheldrake. He's a scientist, but kind of on the not quite a woo scientist, but he's kind of on that end. Like he's exploring some weird stuff, more philosophically speaking. And he talks
Mhm.
about like morphic resonances and morphic memory. It's like the shape of something and the arrangement of something makes the memory or has some sort of contact to that thing, so that you would, let's say, if you did reassemble yourself in the same took yourself apart molecule by molecule, or took identical molecules together and then put it together, that would still be you, because you and it would have your memories, because the memories are arranged in the same way, and that would be you. There would be sort of like a morphological memory, like just by the nature of its shape and arrangement.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to look a little more.
Well,
uh
it's all hypothetical until somebody actually develops the thing, right?
yeah.
Mac, that's he probably. I'll bring it back up. I didn't mean to take it down. And if you get mind wiped before you have a chance to actually repent, does that mean that you're still damned no matter what your second life is? I would think that any society that does that would probably give you, like, at the very least, a moment alone before they flip the switch and give you maybe
No.
unknowingly a chance.
What's the fun in that?
Just because there's people out there, unless your universe is completely devoid of religion, there would be people and maybe even traditions, uh, where people would go, okay, I'm gonna you know do exactly that, repent, um, for fear of never getting another chance to do so, because they would be mind wiped and not realize they needed to do so. Especially if you came back as, the guy who's been mind wiped and thinks his whole life has been, decent, austere, priestly type of, civil servant, and never has any memories of having done anything bad, and thinks he's going to just, this is another stop along the road of doing good. um, there might be, different religions or sects, or people coming to the prison saying, hey, I wish to speak to the prisoner before you do the mind wipe. A good Catholic or Christian priest might think that, if the government's not going to, like, step in, I'm going to come in, visit the guy, and say, hey, you know this is your chance to, repent before they pull the switch on your ass.
Yeah. Sounds like you're being a bleeding heart liberal.
No, I'm just thinking of how other beings might exist in a universe like that.
Yeah, I think you're cucking. This
I'm
is
more
this is the first step on the path to the road of evil, there, bro.
no, because I'm kind of digging what Max said next. But what if you're utterly unrepentant, but then in your second life you're super pious, but have no idea of the terrible things you did in your former life? Kind of makes you wonder about people with amnesia. Yeah, I could also see, um, making for a great villain. Check this. He's the guy you just spoke of, utterly unrepentant. He's the baddest mamma jamma in the galaxy, and they're gonna mind wipe his ass. But he's just so bad that when they try to mind wipe him, it don't work, and then he,
Well, that's what I was getting at with the nature versus nurture thing, right? Like, if the state thinks it's just nurture, you're educated that way, and you can be mind wiped to not have that education anymore. But it's actually nature, right? Like it's who you are,
Mhm.
whether or not you were raised to be good or not. That means like when they mind wipe you, yeah, you don't know anything about your life before, but you're still in the soul psychotic fucking
Nasty bastard.
yeah. So you just like walk out of that confinement cell, yip de doody, and go and kill some more people, right? And then of course the state has egg on its face, so it covers shit up.
I could see that, especially like with the case I was talking about with the guy who it doesn't work with, but now like the galaxy's most wanted villain has escaped, and I was also thinking that if they're going to do all that, they're probably going to throw in a little plastic surgery too, wouldn't you think?
Probably.
I want to say that they
I
even
can
did
see the
that
state being that stupid.
as to not give him plastic surgery. And as soon as he walks out, he's all thinking, oh, da 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 da, mind wipe. And he walks out, and then just boom, the entire freaking crowd waiting mob is there for him. That would happen like once. And then they'd be like, I guess we better do the plastic surgery.
Yeah, and it's space plastic surgery, so you know it's really good.
Also, mind wipes could work for villains. Like you just like, okay, you're on the lam, you got to get out of here, and like or like you, if you get caught, let's say you don't want to like rat on your fellow mafia space mafia members, so you get a mind wipe. Let's say one guy gets caught, he's mind wiped. Who they know you're a thug, but you can't you can't turn evidence on your buddy.
Right? Kind of like the cyanide pill, or
Hmm.
also with what Mac was saying. What if the evilness is due to a brain defect? Let's call it. So that sure you're mind wiped, but slowly over time, within the next year or so, you start getting these urges, and you start doing some bad stuff, and then more bad stuff, But everybody still thinks you're that turned around good guy. That could be pretty.
That would be nature.
Right, where the person has no choice because of something, a birth defect or something like that, and they find out that it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, or it's not working perfectly, and but you're living a good life, and you're having like these weird memories that aren't yours, and then like you find out, oh my gosh, I was a serial killer 10 years ago, and they gave me false memories of a past or something.
Yeah, sounds like a Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we've talked about
I
punishment.
mind you that because he's done things where like you've gotten transplants from a serial killer, and now you're having memories.
Well, yeah, didn't he do that story with like the hand or something,
I
or is
think it
that
was an
somebody else?
eye. It might have been the hand. Idle Hands was a movie that was by someone else, but
Okay, I know I remembered something like that.
he did like one where the Dark Half, I think it was, or the book after that. It was something like that.
Okay, I remember that one too. I didn't watch it or read it, but my mom was a huge Stephen King fan and always telling me about the different stories that I was never going to read.
You should
But
read some Stephen King, bro.
um, I did. I read whatever that book of short stories was that had Last Rung on the Ladder.
Oh, I'd have to look that up. Uh, do you know any? What was last? What
I
was
was
it about?
I was 17 when I read it.
Okay, yeah.
That's 40 years ago of just shit. And Frankenstein did teach us that's what happens when you're dealing with a bad brain, an abnormal brain.
Mm.
Now, what would be some of the things that would warrant something like this? Would it always just be, murder and the other thing, or would it be, you know, other crimes, non-violent crimes? Would this be a thing that you would think would be imposed for smugglers and thieves and con artists, or just the really top end?
Mm. I don't know, it depends on how psychotic with this kind of thing do you, how normalized do you want it to be?
The
Uh,
the erasing.
yeah, I could see doing it for jaywalking.
Well, when talking about this, I think you guys touched on a couple of things, like for example, the movie Total Recall. Using the mind wipe, or selective mind wiping, or even the implanting of false, or not necessarily false memories, but like skill implants for an agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
this is
information packets.
the pilot to Blake Seven was this. This was the whole kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, it's something the authorities can and probably will abuse. So Blake Seven, he's a revolutionary. He's kind of on Earth in this very sort of THX like domed society. Everything seems perfect, but on the just on the surface. And he's this revolutionary, but he's been mind wiped and given a new life. He's just a regular guy doing his regular job, and then his memories start coming back because the I guess the other revolutionaries are trying to jog his memory. Um, they get caught. He gets caught kind of meeting with the revolutionaries. They bring him in to the they arrest him. He thinks he's going to be arrested for like for this for being in this sort of revolutionary meeting where everybody was massacred, or at least. And um, and then what happens is they figured, okay, this mind wipe's not going to work again. It's broken. He's not going to be able to be mind wiped and put new memories and get rid of them. And we don't want to make him a martyr by just like putting him on trial. So with the mind wipe technology, the they take children, implant memories of Blake abusing them, and then they just charge Blake as a pedophile, basically.
Right. I
It was
remember. I
pretty
remember
dark.
Mind
It was really,
for the first episode, I was like, "Holy, this is what, like 1979 ish,"
yeah, yeah,
and I was like, and it was the BBC. I was like, "Man, this is a hell of a first episode for way back then." When you were getting things like Star Wars and Logan's Run and Buck Rogers and things like Battlestar Galactica, where it's all kind of cheery and prettied up, and
Hmm.
boom, first thing. Yeah, if you
yeah,
haven't watched Blake
and
Seven, it's definitely worth the watch, especially the last episode. Oh my god!
yeah.
Oh,
This and this kind of stuff. This is like, I don't want to get too political, but it's like this is how evil some of the people in charge are. They are that evil that they would
Yeah.
do something like, if they could do something like that, they would.
Well,
mhm.
I've seen it done. I've seen it done in
I'm
real
not
life.
familiar with
So
the Miles O'Brien, but I do remember who's the actor who's on who played what's his name in Cheers, the spinoff, Frasier
for sure, yeah,
brother.
yeah, yeah.
Well, there was an episode with of like Tales from the Dark Side or something, where he had created this prison system that would force you to live out like your sentence in a matter of minutes.
Oh yeah, I think
Oh,
I
that'd be
remember
cool.
that.
That way, you've served your time, but you're you know
I've seen that story told a few times. Yeah, so like you go in it and you live like a lifetime within minutes of boredom, and then you walk
or
out, and
worse.
then yeah,
Like
you
that
are
episode of
sentenced to
Star Trek.
500 years. Well, you actually live through it now. It's
Mhm.
not just until death. Yeah, like that one where Picard gets transported to that other alien planet.
Yeah, he
Right.
It's
can
just
learn to
his
play the
mind.
flute.
Yeah, yeah. That
He
was
learned how
kind
to
of
play the flute.
yeah. That was kind of one of the better episodes, I thought.
I
I
That
lived an
think it was.
entire life, and all I got out of it was a flute.
I think it was like a season episode, like a season opening episode of Star Trek, like one of like third or fourth. I don't
Chewie
remember.
is peanut butt head. Yeah, it was one of the better episodes of Next Generation. It was kind of sad if you think about it.
Yeah,
He
it
had
was it
this,
was more philosophical, definitely.
yeah,
It al-
versus the other woke crap that we got force fed.
Even
it
back then.
Hmm.
it was sad, but it was also nice because it gave something to Picard that he didn't have, which was a family.
Right, right. Which in a way, I mean, kind of justified some of, the gravitas they gave to the Picard character over the years. He'd been through a ton of stuff. And that was one of the things that no man had ever gone through before. And
And that
yeah,
was
I had to
also
move
like
down.
the other thing was it was like sort of the dying memory of a planet, which is
Right.
cool.
Hmm. Fuck.
But I figured if they could send a spaceship like that, they could just make like some kind of spaceship to get out of there. Like,
You would think, you know, kind of like the other one where the aliens brought you to them because they were too lazy to get off their ass and explore space. They're just inviting all this riffraff from the galaxy. Yeah, come visit us. We want to learn about you, and then they invite the Tyranid or the Necrons to their home world.
now I see contact in a different way.
Yeah, they're just lazy aliens. Make us do all the work.
I don't disagree with them though. I too can appreciate that level of exercise.
I
Now,
never I never watched Deep Space. Sorry, dude.
one
Oh,
thing on relation related to mind wiping would be a Clockwork Orange, where it's not mind wiping. It's like some kind of aversion therapy to violence.
MK Ultra kind of thing.
Yeah, the
yeah.
Ludovicos technique, as they called it in the movie
Hmm.
and the book, I guess as well.
Yeah, because I was thinking about the lesser crimes. What would be, obviously, what's illegal, because there's a whole lot of things on our books that are illegal, but in the
Like
future,
breathing.
and each world would have its own, you know, law book, if you will, or would it just be, kind of standard? Are there going to be places where, culturally or for whatever reason these things are okay on this planet?
Well,
Kind
law
of like
is
Las Vegas.
yeah. Law is what you can enforce, right? It's not even like what's written down, but what you can enforce
Hmm.
and what you think you can get away with claiming you have the right to enforce. So the central, like in our system, the central worlds will have like really dense and well regulated and enforced laws, but you know they're on the books out in the rim, but you know who's ever actually opened the fucking thing in the first place, let alone tried to
Right, the
enforce
law
it.
books is sitting on a lectern somewhere covered in dust and cobwebs.
Well, not even that, it's like hasn't even been downloaded from the hypernet.
Yeah,
let alone opened up or printed off or anything like that, right?
I remember
Mm.
watching a video for research for on westerns and stuff, and there was this. It was like some unusual tales from like the West, and it was like a family that would take so they basically they send like one guy out there to investigate there's some people going missing somewhere in Kansas, and it's kind of like the edge of the West where people are starting to head out and stuff. And there's this weird family, like I think they were Dutch or something, really kind of difficult to
Ooh,
deal with, kind of
never
cranky.
trust the Dutch.
No, except I think the one daughter, she was pleasant to deal with. They go out there, and they think it's like they're like the last people to be seen around these people. And what they were doing was like, if they thought they could rob you, like you've had something of value and nobody would find out, they would basically murder you and take all your shit. Like they would just like, and they kind of ran an inn, like half their house was, they would let people stay and just murder them. And like, it was a weird investigation because they're going around trying to find out what happened to these people. And well, this one guy and then some of the locals, and it was weird because she was like, um, I can help. The one daughter's like, I can help you. I'll do a séance to contact the dead and things like that. And eventually, though, I think they heard wind of it, and they were that they basically figured they were going to get caught, so they left town. And then, of course, they were able to just check the ranch that they lived at, and they found all these bodies of people that weren't even they didn't even know were missing. And
See,
it
this
was
is
kind of
why I keep telling you: if you're gonna kill a lot of people, you gotta take up cannibalism. It's how you get rid of the evidence, man. Like,
I'll have
I
to
keep the
thought
I'll,
the
people.
universally accepted was just raise pigs.
I'll have to
Yeah,
give
it
you
sounds
the
like work.
I linked it in Justin's Discord. I'll find it's part of a whole a whole series of stories. It was near the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, Mac. Different places are going to have a lot of different, you know, customs that turn into laws.
Yeah. Well, laws come from the things that you need to turn into laws, right? Like everything's legal until somebody does it the first time,
Hmm.
and then somebody says this has got to not be legal
Yeah,
anymore.
it's not a war crime the first time.
Yes, exactly. And apparently, it's also not a war crime when certain people do it, as we see today. But
Hmm.
you know, I have no problem getting political, George.
Yeah, the Bloody Benders is what they were called.
The bloody benders.
Yeah, if you go like the one of the videos I linked in there, it's like 3 hours in. Let's see, where am I?
Uh,
Oh, yeah. So what other law and order stuff?
Well,
What's your
I
favorite
was
law?
thinking, a lot of it would probably, smuggling seems to be like a really big thing in science fiction. Because
Mhm.
yeah,
it sounds cool, to be a smuggler because oftentimes you're really not doing anything bad. You're just bringing, goods or things like that.
restricted tractors.
Yeah,
What you're you're bringing something to a planet. Oftentimes it is worthy of being banned, but a lot of times it's not for you
It's
can make up
stolen goods or whatever.
right or medical
yeah,
technologies or things to do with psionics or drugs or things like
yeah,
that. But over here it's perfectly legal. Over there it isn't, and so there's that kind of trade back and forth.
yeah.
Or
I
is it
guess
just good?
one of the things I would think is like in the future, in a sort of sci-fi future, what are the new things that will be the new vices, the new illegal things because of the technology? Like we always go end up it always goes here, robots. Like, would sex robots be illegal? Would your characters be in your RPG be smuggling in sex robots or something?
But the price is right. I mean
But I
that's
could,
what it boils down to. A lot of times the profit to be made from importing this thing is all it takes for certain folks to be on board with bringing it. They don't care. It's
yeah,
it's you know buy low, sell high kind of just basic economics. But then somebody says, "Oh no, you can't do that." Would you make things that shouldn't be illegal but are part of the story?
I'm just saying. I'm looking forward to our sex bot overlords. Just saying.
yeah. I guess like because there are like these problems with these a lot of things that like they can you know I could see a society ruined by that. People
Mhm.
won't get married. It's like cheap, easy porn, but beyond that.
Mhm.
Or it could be
Um,
holodecks, like illegal holodeck programs and things like that. Like they did that. They actually did that in the
Babylon
Orville.
5.
Oh, they did it in Babylon 5
Orville.
too.
Yeah,
They were-
there was I think Ivanova was. They were putting her face on some of the holograms so that you could.
It was
Ah,
a VR program, not holodecks, but
Right, but
same difference.
yeah, someone's got
Um,
to get a squeegee and a mop when you're done.
yeah, yeah, and they were putting the face of the command staff on pleasure mates in the boulevard there. Oh, it came to her attention because somebody made a doll of Ambassador
Londo.
Londo Malari, Ambassador Malari,
Hmm.
and it's like he was complaining because the tentacles were wrong.
Of course he was. Of course he was.
I don't know if you remember what the tentacles were.
Yeah, it was actually in the very first, like the pilot or something. He was actually using his tentacle to steal drinks and shit. Now that's
Cheetah cards, cheetah cards.
was it cheating at cards.
Yeah, he was grabbing a card off the deck from across the table.
It's funny because I was looking at a book on the Old West and some of the things that were.
He was picking that card up with one of his dicks. I'm just letting you know that. Make it
Yes, yes,
very clear to the audience.
yes.
I'm not even that perverted. Michael J. Straczynski, on the other hand,
Apparently
is.
was. It was weird how there were certain like cheating at cards was like a death sentence. You know,
Hmm.
uh, that's a little strict, don't you think? Or was it because of the time and the era and the place and how hard money was to come by, or was it just like a perceived honor thing? Unlike
Yeah,
honor killings, which are just crazy if you ask
yeah,
me.
yeah. Now I want to ask Mac a question. Does it have tentacles? Because if it doesn't, it's very dishonoring
Say hi.
to
Hello.
Londo.
Hey, good.
Hello.
I want to know
Hmm.
if Bruce answered.
No, I haven't typed it up yet. I'll get to it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by this. I know what BattleTech is like, but I don't know what Crusader is like. Max says all of the above. Was that a different show or a different like IP or something like that?
Uh,
And he says he's never opened the package.
it doesn't have the tentacles, bro.
now I remember that episode where I think the some of the female Centauris saw it and they were laughing because it didn't have the
Yeah,
tentacles.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Don keeps doing that.
Oh, I think he's referring to the
Billy,
Baltec
yes.
being a
Come
Crusader feature.
on.
I don't know, man. What kind of laws do you think would be observant in the future? Oh, George.
Well, I think so. The basic stuff, don't it goes beyond like the basic laws where it's like don't steal, don't lie, don't uh, murder, and then sort of the things that kind of how like things that lead to those things get more and more illegal, which sometimes sucks. Like we're like they want to take guns and things because guns kill people, and then but they can do other things. So, but
See,
so in
guns
the
don't kill
future,
people. People kill people.
yeah.
So sorry, guns
So
don't kill people. Liberals kill people.
yes.
I was gonna say men who come home and find their wives cheating on them kill people, but
Those are usually liberals.
So let's see. In the future, I think it'll be more like I was just saying, weird vices that might come out, where there might be planets that just ban completely video games because that's another vice. It's another addiction that people have, and it's pointed right at children. It can be really sap productivity.
And if
So
society is really strict and upwardly mobile, they're gonna,
mhm.
at first they're gonna discourage things, and then eventually, either ban them outright or make them illegal or that sort of thing.
Yeah,
In which case, you'd have people, bringing in, old Nintendo 64s to this particular planet. That would be hysterical if the cargo was nothing but more or less Mario Brothers, harmless video games, but on this planet it's the death penalty or life imprisonment, hard labor kind of thing. Uh,
yeah. The other thing could be spaceships. They are literally just weapons of themselves, just by nature of the energies involved in them.
mhm.
You crash a spaceship
Yeah.
into a planet, you can destroy an entire city. So there might,
Take care, Mac.
you might go
Yeah.
that route. That's one of the things with the gates. You can kind of get around some of that because you're not dealing with faster than light momentum. You're dealing with just
Yeah.
momentum through a gate, and maybe it's a fusion ship that can kind of go a fraction of the speed of light, allowing for an alternate way to find places, or sort of the way for these gates to be set up. Like maybe you have to get there first, so maybe it takes 20 years to get to Alpha Centauri to make a gate, and then another 20 years to hop your way through each spot. But those kind of, I could picture spaceships themselves being highly regulated. And
Oh,
if you're
absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
and
I was actually
and ser-
thinking going the opposite with it and having them like so basically modular that if you found the right parts, you could just slap one together. Because you don't have to go faster than light, right? You just have to go to the gate.
yeah, one of the ideas I was having was a what do you call it?
But
Avoid ecology,
it's your world,
sort of.
Shadow.
Well, and it was because I was going literal cowboy, like space cowboys, where it's like, well, what's
Yeah.
a space cow? And it's sort of a space creature in space, and you could ride it from planet to planet. But that's a little little weird, but
There's
and then I
Gonzo
was
beyond. I don't even think Shadow's that Gonzo.
the other thought is like Moya, like that can open a possibility where you don't have to go very fast, and there's like things like living ships and things like that, which could be your literal space horse. It's a living creature. That's it's a possible way to go into that, into sort of
Yeah.
an analog to the future, to having something analogous that we don't have. We don't have a living form of transport anymore. And in those days, there's things that we don't think about, like, oh yeah, you had your horse and he got you from A to B, but you had to feed him and you had to keep him warm and things like that. And he had a personality, and he would, your neighbor had a calm, nice horse, but mine's a real jerk and pain in the ass, and he does, he
If I'm
bites
gonna
me if
punch,
I. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's because he has to put up with you. That's why.
well, I've always wondered why uh, spaceships would even be available to civilians. If you
mhm,
think about,
Yeah, but you.
letting your citizenry go off and leave and stop paying taxes and never come back,
mhm,
that's why we haven't colonized the moon, because they know as soon as we did that, in 100 years they'd be like, yeah, we're declaring our independence and you guys can kick rocks.
yeah,
There's a
Well,
famous story about that, or at least I remember reading a story about that, where the first colony on the moon eventually said, "Nah, thanks for all the free, hardware and infrastructure
was it
from all you
the
big."
moon,
have spacesuit? The moon's a
the
harsh
moon is a
mistress.
heart precious. Yeah,
No,
that's
it wasn't
awesome.
that one. I read that one, but there was another one. But just the idea,
Was it super old or from the like 90s or early 2000s?
uh, it, I don't remember. I don't
Because there
think it
was
was as old
this.
as Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I think it was a little newer, but it was
Yeah.
very. They were showing parallels between the Americas in the beginning, leaving the Britain and that sort of thing, and how it would just you'd have this never ending cycle of the corporation build this big colony on this planet, and as soon as they're on their own, they're like, yeah, come get us. We quit. We're doing
Yeah,
our own thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it also depends on like you think like Australia, right? Like and in North America for the most part, even though the colonies separated, a lot of them were created not because you wanted the land, but because there was like it's a event for overpopulation.
Hmm.
So yeah, okay, you're losing the tax from these people, but it's actually more cost effective to let them leave. Um,
That's what I think the
because
ancient Greeks did. They would always have like the surplus population that causing trouble. You had like heirs to nobles that were like one guy's going to inherit the titles and whatever equivalent titles the ancient Greeks had, and then they would just pack up and send a portion of their population. Like maybe the youngest son of a noble and a bunch of friends. They'd go and set up a colony in like the coast of North Africa or in France or someplace,
Yeah, well, yeah, but
and
you would
that
think
did.
it would be uh, kind of in the original country's best interest to try to, continue to tax this new place.
Yeah,
At least as long as they could, and
well,
if
I think they.
you're thinking taxes like we have them now. Like a lot of those times, taxes were done not through like you're going to give me a percentage of your pay. That's like a thing that was created after World War I. Before that, you would get taxed through commerce and um,
Like
uh,
tariffs and stuff.
tariffs and stuff. But once again, we're talking about the gate system, right?
mm,
That's your taxation.
hmm
So you moving from one place to another is you paying taxes.
Yeah.
Do you want to limit moving from place to place if that's how you're collecting your taxes, or do you want to encourage it?
right. I mean, and for the sake of science fiction, you have to kind of move past that and
Yeah,
allow the expansion of the original home planet, whatever that is,
yeah,
whether it's humans or Vulcans. You've got to expand, otherwise you're just gonna
yeah.
eventually overcrowd your planet and you know
Well,
die.
it's also like, where's the story if nobody's going anywhere,
Right.
right?
You
Like
get that. You get that story. That episode of Star Trek where there's so many people on the planet, they're all like this,
well,
barely able.
it's not even that. You can literally break down every story, like every story, fiction, nonfiction, and everything in between, to two categories: guy goes somewhere, or guy shows up where you are. Right? Like it's strange. Like westerns are usually stranger in town,
Yep.
right? Uh, so you get a lot of that. But then there's always like the, well, now something's happened. You have to go do something. You have to leave your place
Mhm.
to go do something, or someone's come to your place, right? Like it's these are the two basic like things are happening. That there's rarely I was at home and I stayed at home and the story's over. like there
That's
is a genre of fiction that does that, but it's
Yeah,
like a
yeah. I think it got
very,
started from that episode of Dead Like Me, where the old lady was just cleaning up her house, getting stuff done with
yeah, but that
what's her
was a
name.
B plot. It wasn't the main
I know,
story.
I know, I know. But it's funny. I
Yeah,
always remember that because it was just such a.
I
It's kind of like
know.
the Banana Report. I was like, people really watch that? Yeah, really do.
I watch it. Hey George, do you watch the Banana Report?
no. What is that?
It's the Banana Report.
It's literally everything you think it is, and literally nothing else.
It's on YouTube. Go look it up right now. The Banana Report.
Is it like monkey news?
No, no, I
No,
don't know.
no, 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 no.
It's literally just what you. And by
Just
the
like
way, I
lemon.
sent George and Dave over to the Banana Report as well, so Mr. Max will get a couple more subscribers.
Have you looked it up yet?
Banana
Uh-oh.
report. Just banana report. A
And
banana report. Here we go.
yeah, just watch any video.
Somebody opening a banana.
Mhm.
Yeah. Every fucking I
This
don't know
all?
why he just doesn't recycle the same videos over. Just like do like a month's worth of them and then just re-upload them over and over and over.
This is like
Uh,
oh, that. This banana looks pretty sus. Oh
oh,
gosh,
Yeah, the most harmless,
this is like one
ridiculous.
of this is one of those things where like I watch. I'm like, why am I not making content? That's all I have to do.
like this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, let me see
How many
how many
subs is he up to
subscribers.
since you're there?
Uh, 27. Oh, 28 now. Yeah.
28 now that you hit subscribe. You're like, this is dumb. I'm subscribing.
Yep, yep.
Everybody that finds it. Mr. Max is a genius. Uh,
Oh, hi. You're a happy guy.
That's a
What do
pretty
you
new
want?
channel.
Hey, sweetie. Say hi, Daddy.
yeah,
Say hi. He's a good boy.
it's not his only channel though.
That's the Chewy report.
The Chewy report. I scratch your belly. Ooh, wagtail.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think its wagging tail was as enthusiasm as it should have been. We'll come back tomorrow to see how it's doing.
Yeah. Right now, he
Uh,
wants to chase the squirrel that's uh,
in the
playing around
yard.
in the tree. We also have owls now. It's such a weird thing.
Mm.
Like 12 o'clock at night, I'm out there having a cigarette, and I'm hearing three different owls. I'm like, where'd you guys come from, and why are you here?
I know taxidermy, and I have a pellet gun.
There's that. And it's funny too because I see a lot of plastic owls on people's roofs now to keep other birds away.
Yeah,
And it's like,
I got free ones.
Owls.
Mm.
Yeah, I just get scared when I see like birds in the sky now. I was driving home one day. I saw like a bald eagle like kind of over the house, and I'm like, called my wife to get the dog outside and have make sure the chickens are okay.
Oh, okay, yeah,
yeah, because you can't shoot the thing, right?
Yeah, I would never want to, but I don't want them eating them. We've been
yeah.
pretty lucky. We only lost like one to
Another aspect we haven't touched on, and I know Justin hates this book and this author, etc. But the stainless steel rat showed how in the future a lot of crimes are going to be eliminated. You know, bank robbery and things like that. You
hmm,
know,
Well,
and a lot of muggings and things like that. You're not going to get their cash. You know,
super surveillance. Well, once again, that depends, like how close into the like,
get their
a
phone,
core.
yeah, and
get their
well,
fingerprints.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, you also like, do they have that infrastructure out where we're talking about, or like,
Probably,
yeah,
yeah. No. It would make sense. It would ruin too many great tropes by the advent of technology.
yeah. You could
But
have some like wanderer complaining that like isn't available.
I
Uh,
picture
right,
this
but
all.
some obviously some crimes are going to be no longer feasible. But are they going to be replaced with like an equal number of new crimes, or like are there going to be like so many more things that are
well,
now illegal?
it's like those IR scanners or whatever, RF scanners, whatever the fuck they are. I
Mhm.
can never remember the acronym. Where they have like the guy with the satchel and he's got the little thing and it picks up your credit card
Right, that's a whole
or
new
your
crime
bank
that
Yeah,
didn't
card.
exist before. Or
new
like when you go to the
scams.
pump. Well,
Yeah,
Raven had gone to the gas pump and put her card in, and it was one of those fake card readers at the gas pump that someone attached. So it was just
yeah.
stealing her information, giving her
Yeah.
gas, I guess, at the same time, but stealing her information for later. You
Yeah.
know, that's a, it's an ingenious freaking thing. Uh, if you're a bastard,
Yeah.
but I mean, are there going to be like so many more crimes than there were in, like, the old days?
Yeah,
I
there'll be a lot more information theft crimes and stuff like that.
Yeah, new scams. Always new.
even things as weird as stealing of DNA. You know,
Mhm.
people out there, walking around trying to, uh,
There's a couple of people I wouldn't mind cloning.
exactly.
Yeah,
If
like
you if cloning became a thing, how much DNA would you need to clone somebody? Just one of those hairs off their brush, or would you just follow them around in public with like some sort of weird vacuum cleaner, hoping to pick up a flake of skin or something like that, and you go home to your lab and have some sort of sorting device to separate all the weirdos' DNA from that one person.
Yeah, and I
yeah.
end up getting a fucking clone
Maybe,
of you, and I'm like,
it,
oh god, now what do I do? I already
the
got one of them, and I don't want them.
it almost sounds like sympathetic magic, where you take a hair, you make a clay doll or something out of it, or if you get
Yep.
blood, then you like get more power, and it might even be like in a sense like the person uses the DNA to target you for mind control or for assassination. Let's say if it's an enemy or something like that, you get their DNA, you know what exactly will kill them, and it won't look so bad because it might be just a
Everyone got the
slightly
flu that
engineered.
year.
Yeah,
hmm
exactly.
or you're like some of the crazy CIA assassination tools and weapons. The ice bullet or something
Heart
like
attack
that.
gun.
You bump into a guy and you accidentally nick him. He's like, oh, what the fuck? And a week later he's got stage 4 cancer.
Didn't the King Jong Un's
I
brother do
remember
it?
that
That's
episode
how he
of
got his
Unbound.
brother. I think
hmm
that yeah, Kim Jong Un, he assassinated his brother. Like had some lady just like throw some kind of toxic thing in his face or something
Yeah,
and
yeah,
killed him.
that was really, and then they caught the
I
girls and
don't
they had
blame
no
him.
idea what they were doing. You
Yeah,
know, yeah, that was pretty crazy. I think uh, sci-fi is going to be just rampant, which would give you a lot of outlets for for playing the space cop or the space ranger or the space detective, because you'd have so many different avenues of perpetrating X crime,
mm,
and they've got to figure out and follow all these red herrings until they finally find the right clue. And it sounds like a lot of freaking work.
yeah. I
You
guess like
know, in the old days, back in the 70s and 80s, playing games like Traveler, even if you wanted to be a criminal, we just didn't have all these possibilities or ideas. Even then, all of us reading science fiction, we some of the things we're talking about now weren't even thought
Yeah,
of back.
like I don't like that
Yeah.
wasn't really a hack. Was it? Did Traveler always have a hacker or no? Like it
No,
doesn't. Yeah, so
not really,
it's yeah,
because
maybe
Traveler came out in
R2D2 hacked.
'77, and the first hacker in sci-fi was actually Avon from Blake Seven, and that
Yeah,
didn't come out for another year. They might have brought it up,
I think
in
it,
later expansions of Traveler, but originally it really wasn't that big a thing.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
The
And
yeah,
think
it's
about it,
that's
like the game Cyberpunk. It's like almost every career option is a freaking criminal of some sort.
Well, that's
It's
the
like
point of the game, though, right?
right, but I mean, there's like very little option. It's like with vampire, you're playing a vampire. Get over it. Um,
Mm.
yeah. I guess it might be just a setting thing because you are a criminal. Like if you're against like the powers that be, you are a criminal no matter what. Even if you're doing good.
yeah,
Um,
the,
there's
the
sort of that.
days of Robin Hood.
Yeah,
You try that shit, you're going to get squashed. And if you're not careful, you'll end up working for the very same people, whether it be like in the stainless steel rat or something else where they mind wipe you and turn you into one of them.
Hmm.
Because once that technology came about, it reminds me of the packs in Serenity. Eventually the government's going to try and fix
Yeah.
everybody. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. The packs. Fuck.
Yeah, I see that if that technology existed, it would never be limited to just criminals. It would be, so what's his name would say mind control.
Hmm.
What's his, oh gosh,
Absolutely. I mean,
Ventura,
and
mind
and
control.
if you think about it, uh, in a weird way, it could be a good thing. If your society was faltering or on the verge of collapse,
Hmm.
fixing everybody uh, could turn you into a intergalactic powerhouse
Yeah,
with
I guess then
everybody on the same page. It would suck
Yeah.
in ways, when it comes to freedoms. But imagine a
Nah,
race.
freedom sucks. It's fake.
Imagine a race that kind of, and there are probably a lot of examples that openly embraced such a thing. You
Next
know,
thing
yeah.
you're
it,
gonna be talking to me about is human
Well,
rights.
there's I guess it could go like by the way of like Brave New World, where it's sort of like,
mhm.
oh, you're a janitor, you love it. I do.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
okay.
what was that episode of the Twilight Zone where the awkward gawky, like, I'm sure she was a redheaded freckled girl, but it was black and white, where she had to choose her new body and she didn't want to. She's like, "What's wrong with the one I have?" And there's like five men and five women type bodies to choose from, and they're all super handsome and
Oh
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever.
I don't
Remember
remember.
remember the one I'm talking about, George?
I remember. I
Where
remember it.
and then she had to choose it. And once she chose the body, she was all happy like everybody
Yeah.
else. And uh, imagine a society out there that not only implemented the full mind control thing, but then used it to a crazy advantage to where they spread out and start taking over other empires or planets and systems. And when you meet them, the crew of the Enterprise, they make first contact with this new race or this new species, and instead of doing like the Borg, they're like, oh, put on these glasses or take this pill or you know look at this light, and next thing you know, you're one of them.
There was
Oh my
that
god.
that
The game,
device.
the
Yeah, the
game.
game.
Hmm.
Wasn't that the name of the episode too?
Yes,
Maybe I'm on a little
and the game
tangent.
was dumb. Oh my god, the game looks so. You're looking at it today. You're like, you're kidding me, right? I would have whipped those glasses and flung them across the room the first time.
Well, the game wasn't like the thing that was actually addictive to you. There was like subliminal messaging
The
buried
endorphin
underneath.
releases and things like
Yeah,
that. It was a drug. It was a
yeah,
digital drug, but the first time you put it on, I was like, okay, yeah, that felt kind of good, but this game has been, you know,
yeah.
moronic
But then you want to play it again right away because
because it's Candy Crush.
the yeah the subnautic influence or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's Candy Crush. Candy Crush is a perfect example. That
Mhm.
game is dumb, but how
Mhm.
many people play it for fucking 35 hours a day?
Hmm. Because of the,
Shadow,
I've never played it
Shadow.
once. Never played it once, but
Don't
I am
lie,
well aware of it.
Shadow.
But I'm also well aware of it really doesn't matter the game anymore. We've been conditioned over a generation almost of
Yeah,
you know getting that endorphin release from whether
useless
it's just
things.
opening an email. You get, oh, I got mail. Boom, you've been hooked. That you're the first time is
Yeah.
free.
Yeah,
See a response on your tweet. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
so and so liked my tweet, and half your day is
yeah.
gone.
Speaking of which, I actually made contact with Earl Otis. I never thought that would be a thing. Um, Thanks to the digital universe that we were surrounded by. You know,
Yeah.
we're almost at that weird place where like living off the grid in some places is illegal. So I wonder if we'll ever actually, because of that sort of mentality, if we'll ever actually be able to, see other planets for the big corporations' fear of losing the taxpayers and another customer. There are
Yeah.
people that are having their farms shut down, and oh, you're not on the grid. Well, you got to pay this exorbitant fine, and pack up and move back to the city, kind of thing.
Hmm.
It'll be very difficult to go out and explore with that kind of mentality. It'll be like, nope,
Yeah.
nope. We'll have government agents go and do that. People who've already been brainwashed to work for the company, so that they don't like.
You gotta stop watching the Alex Jones again, Shadow.
Well, I'm on the side with Shadow on that because I always everything when you see things talking about space, like the privatization of space. It's like, oh, so you in your mind, personal property does not exist in space. Like you can't own something in space. It's like it starts out unownable in their minds. Like it's it's already privatized. You're trying to governmentize it. You're trying to
Yeah.
make it socialized. You can't own a moon rock. Like I think technically you can't own a moon rock or something like that. But like you
Yeah,
can't
you,
go to the
you can
moon.
buy moon
Like
rocks.
oh, okay, it's like you can't
But just
fly to
don't
the
ask for
moon and then own a moon rock.
s-
Like you can't go to
Yeah.
asteroid and chip off a piece and sell the gold for something. They're like, oh, the privatization of space. We got to work. We got to make this right. Like, no, it's private already. You're trying to
Yeah.
say that it's
you're just,
already
you're just it's
socialized
private
and that,
as in keep out.
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a
it's
club and you're
yeah,
not a member.
exactly. That's
Well,
one of the things I don't like about. I mean, it's a cool show, the Expanse, but and in some ways it's very accurate, but other ways it's just like I think it's upside down. I think it's completely upside down. I think the Belters are going to be the wealthy
Mhm.
aristocrats in the future because they don't need anything from Earth, technically speaking. They could, if you could build space stations that could support life, they can get water from asteroids, from asteroids, and if they have to go further out to like Saturn and grab a comet, they can bring it in and get water. They can get carbon based materials from asteroids. They can get metal from asteroids,
yeah,
and
I think it's
and
in that case it's the base infrastructure, right? Like
yeah,
they haven't been out there long enough to build actual settlements or things like that. And
Mhm.
there's a
it
big
seems like they have.
no
That's the
had.
thing.
Well, they were just starting to at the beginning of that series,
Yeah,
right?
I've not seen that, but
It's
I
been a
feel
few
like
generations, and
Yeah.
I just can't see that because what the thing is once they get set up, they don't need anything from Earth. No, they
Well,
like
there are
Earth.
like some things that they need from the established like
Yeah,
ecosystems and stuff, but that's only because they haven't built like massive farm colonies and shit like
yeah.
that.
I
And
think
then
the only thing
that's another thing they're talking about, like the taxation and stuff and that. But
yeah,
that's still it's taxation on good transfers, not holdings, because you can't really
yeah.
tax
I like
holdings in that kind
that
of
works out
structure.
as a
Like
good idea, like having like tariffs, basically old school,
yeah,
which would have been like a perfect analog for Wild West taxation.
Mhm.
But one of the things is the whole gravity well thing, where Earth
hmm
can't send physical things as easily as let's say the Belters, we can call them, or the Moonanites, um, and they could just easily drop that down, put it on a parachute, fling it towards Earth, and have it sent there. But
hmm
what's Earth going to pay us with? Well, not as if I was a Belter, but what's Earth going to pay the Belters with? Maybe some technology because they still would probably have a large enough population to kind of
I
be
think it's
pretty
going to be
advanced. But
more like information,
yeah,
like
or
well,
the equivalent of
technology would be like research firms
mhm.
devising new things that you can make.
The schematics for this or that. You're going to pay out
yeah,
the most premium price for it, and we'll gladly take your gold and minerals for it.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah, but that's still you're dealing in a system that's based around having to burn out of the atmosphere. we
Yeah.
decided that we weren't going to do that, right? We had gravity manipulation for that, so it wouldn't
Yeah,
be.
yeah. It's not going to takeoff and landings aren't going to be 90% of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
The
If
is
you do, if you use that, you you get too hard sci-fi, and then you find out you really can't do any of the sci-fi you want
yeah.
because it's so far in the future. And if it's that far in the future, then you're gonna be able to justify, you know,
especially since there have already been like theoretical breakthroughs in gravity manipulation.
mhm.
Um,
And that doesn't include, you know, we don't know what we don't know. We could
mhm.
come across elements and minerals, and God knows what else if we ever bump into aliens, technologies that we can't even dream of right now.
Well, most likely there'll be like things coming out of CERN, right? Because that's where a lot of
Mhm,
those breakthroughs are coming through with like negative materials and things like that.
mhm.
Um,
It's called science fiction for a reason. It's fictional,
mhm.
and you want to, have the magic of the genre, so to speak.
Yeah, you
Otherwise,
you
it
can have a thing done without like as long as you're not bogging yourself down with math, you
mhm,
won't annoy the reader, right? Like the
right.
second you try to explain something is the second you'll fuck up explaining something. Just say it works.
Yep, yep. I mean, because the the percentage of your readership that really cares about that stuff isn't
It's a
reading,
lot higher than you think.
but it's
It's a,
not. It's still most of them aren't reading fiction. They're busy doing the stuff. That's cool. You know, the fiction readers, by and large, are looking for escapism, not cold hard facts that they're going to implement into their latest project in the basement.
yeah,
They're looking for escapism,
but
and
you you forget the unwavering either of the Spurg.
yeah, which you know wasn't always a thing.
No,
You
it
know,
was always a thing. They just didn't have the ability to tell you about it.
I suppose, I did run into a few people at the various gaming halls I ran, or
Yeah.
worked at during the '80s and playing games.
There were many more barriers to be a reply guy back in the day. You
Mhm.
know, you had to A, find some paper, B, get a pencil, C, write down your ideas, B, find an envelope.
Get a stamp, go to the post office, or put it in your mailbox, write it out, all these things, and
Know where to address it to. Reply guys now just smash their keyboard until they're bored.
yeah.
Right, George? He's like, I resemble that remark. How many envelopes did you send to anonymous authors back in the day? You're muted.
I think the Mad Bomber from I think like from Boston or something. He started out like that where he was just sending angry letters to like Hostess Twinkies or something or some company here and there, and next thing you know, he started sending bombs.
How many did you send?
Zero. I'm too lazy.
Exactly. But
I've
let
only sent one letter, and it was to Games Workshop, and they proceed. I sent them a letter signed, "Rotten Hell," and they proceeded to send me a copy of second edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles
Oh,
back in the day.
you should have sent them another envelope with some
I know.
anthrax in
I
it.
was just thinking. No, I was thinking of Shawshank Redemption. And then he started writing two letters a week or whatever. After he got the big, all the boxes and stuff that they sent, and then he started writing more letters. Uh,
Oh,
that was King's best work. Um,
Shawshank
Eddie
is pretty
Dufresne.
good.
yeah, it was. I never read the
I'm just
story.
saying, he's the darkest Irish guy I've ever seen.
Yeah, but
I guess that's another subject. I guess you can go into is space prisons.
Space
Besides
prisons.
the mind wiping version.
Hmm.
Laser
I think
bars,
you
you know.
find a lot of them on lower, not primitive tech, but lower high tech worlds. They you'd end up, um, obviously, mandatory labor. They'd be more like,
Hmm.
the cheapest factories you can come up with, and they'd probably be in charge of making something that's incredibly important. They just didn't know it.
Yeah.
I remember actually
You got
reading.
slave labor building hypernet crystals.
Right.
Oh,
I actually read this Twilight Zone comic book back in the 70s. I mean, this is it was a weird, because it was like the first story in the comic book, and on the very first page, it was an all guys prison, but there was like one little bubble, with a very hardcore innuendo that there was a certain kind of relationship going on. You know what I mean? I'm just like, what am I? I was trying to figure it out as a kid. I'm like, but there's no girls. How's that a thing? But it was weird, because I think it was about trying to escape the prison, but they found out that it was just a space station, so that when the guy finally got out to the surface, he's just looking at space, and he's in a spacesuit. You know, um, I think they would do stuff like that. They would, and it was also sort of a generational kind of thing. Uh,
okay. Wasn't that Fortress 2? You ever see the Fortress movies? Yeah, it's with Christopher Lambert.
Lambert? No, I never saw it, but I think they would do that. They would probably be co-ed prisons and generational, so that they, even if they didn't uh, get new inmates, they would just make more. Wasn't there a Battlestar Galactica episode like that, where they found a prison planet?
Mm, I
The
don't
old ones?
remember.
Yeah, could have swore there was one where,
I
like,
think so.
where
Yeah,
Apollo lands, and he finds out that
I know there
maybe
was
it
a
was
Prison
Doctor
Planet
Who.
1, but I
But
don't
either way,
remember if it was
the,
generational.
the prisoners were serving out, for the crimes of their fathers. It was like never
Oh yeah,
ending.
yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, and they were like named after the crime their parent committed or something. Like that was like their last name or something.
Yeah, and it was just no way around it. There was also, I think, a Tales from the Dark Side, where the prison guards were androids, and when the prisoners finally escaped, they found out they were on this nuclear war zone planet. There was nowhere to escape to.
So in Fortress 1, he goes to prison because his wife got pregnant and she gets gunned down along with the child. They're trying to escape to Canada. It was an overpopulation story. And the warden was played by the bad guy from RoboCop, the crime boss one, Red from Family Guy.
Red
Red.
Foreman,
Yeah,
nice.
and it turned out he was like a cyborg or an android or something. He was
Okay.
growing in a vat, or it was organic. It was weird. It was very disgusting. And then the second one, like he escapes, but he gets caught again. And the second one, he gets sent to another prison, and it is a space station. But I can't remember what the ward was. They escaped from that too, but it was pretty good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
recommend you watch those Fortress
if
One
you
and
think
Two.
about it, in the long run, prisons probably can't possibly be profitable in a sci-fi situation. It's a good.
Prisons aren't about profit, except for in America.
What I mean is that they would be very hard to sustain. There would be cheaper alternatives
Oh,
to
okay, okay, okay.
rehabilitation or what have
Like
you.
Tech War, Cryo Prison,
Right. Where
or
right. That's actually a really good example.
Demolition Man.
Right. Where
Demolition Man.
the not only that, but the interaction with other criminals is just it just turns them into a criminal training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless they never get out, and if they never get out, well, then who would you know you'd find that okay, this prisoner's never getting visitors. Well, we can just safely just no one's gonna know, no one's gonna care. Throw them into the food replicator, and
Yeah.
you
Once again,
know,
you're going
Sun Green,
overboard. You're going
right?
overboard.
But I mean,
There would always be some sort of government fucking agency that's like, we gotta be bleeding heart liberals and put them back on the street.
which if that's the case, then you would think that there would be, eventually fewer and fewer prisons and more places of re-education of some form or another,
They
or
pop
or
up.
or 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 the equivalent of like in the old days when
Have you
you were
been?
sentenced.
Have you been to California?
Yeah, I was just there. Um, now, where in the old days, you had the option of going to jail or going into the military. I
Hmm.
think that
Ah,
would be.
Well,
You remember
yeah,
that?
but with some crimes, yeah,
it's
they had that option, especially during wartime. But like,
But it's space. It's always wartime.
yeah, but like even without war, it's like you have the choice. Well, they did that with Australia. To come back to that, you can go to jail or go to the colony, right? You know,
Uh huh.
and it's like,
there's also
y-
debtor's
y-
prison.
yeah, you have a choice: go to jail or relocate to X595354 and
Serve
work
out your term there.
work on this farm, and we'll take your back taxes from your earnings. And they just never bother collecting because now that you're out of the system, they don't give a shit about you. You know,
Mhm.
um, you'll never be a problem again.
Because they send you to a planet with four other people. You're ice
Yeah,
station zebra. You know, your job is just to push this button 3 times a day. All right, clocked in. Okay, see you in four
the
hours.
pilot episode to well, it's like the second or third episode of Blake Seven was they go to a prison planet. So they eventually, they railroad him into trial. He ends up on a prison. They end up taking the shuttle to this prison planet, and it's like horrible. There's like nothing there, and they find when they get there, they find out there's this. They get sick, and they find out there's this disease, and played by this character actor named Brian Blessed, who was like he played King Voltan in the Flash Gordon movies. And a few other stuff. Like he's played in a lot of things. If you see him, he's just he was the king in Blackadder, and he's like this like kind of this religious leader, and he has the cure to the disease. And eventually, you find out. So that's how they control the prison is through administering this cure that they have to. It's not well. It's not a cure. It's a treatment. So that's even better because then you have to keep coming back to him to get the treatment. And of
Mhm.
course, at the end, you just find out, oh, it's just basically the water. You get used to it, and you're not really diseased, and this is just bullshit. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
that's like,
I just watched Blake Seven for the first time. Uh, Maybe it's about 2 years ago, but maybe about more like a year and a half ago. For the first time, I had to pay for some BritBox 7 day subscription. It was free trial. Like, okay, I'm watching Blake Seven. I'm going to rewatch all of Babylon, Red Dwarf, and then end my subscription. And I was like a bunch of other things I've watched recently that I kick myself for not having seen earlier. That was in the top 5 things that I definitely recommend. It had so many firsts, and
mhm,
it was just so oddball. But at the same time, if you make it in, like I want to say like 4 or 5 episodes, you're in for
yeah,
the whole. What was it like 4 years?
Ch-
4
yeah.
seasons?
I think so. I think it was 3 or
And
4.
season 2, it got like amazingly better because it was like 1980, I think. And
Yeah,
suddenly, like the technology that they could put into the show was just like four times better.
yeah. The great thing about that show is that the two characters, Blake and Avon, and this sort of play between the two, where it's like Blake is a passionate, revolutionary, a man who's like, and he's just bold, doesn't play it, he plays it risky, and he's got a mission, and he's driven. And Avon's like, I want, I he just like he's very intelligent, like he's really smart, like he's probably smarter than any other character in the show, and he's just like
Well, that was the point
this
of the character,
enigma,
no?
this whole enigma of
Kind of.
I think the main reason he's following Blake is just like, why would somebody be like this? This is fascinating, and maybe I could make some money.
Yeah, he was one of the most interesting characters of all time.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about that character and the actor, especially if you've ever watched any interviews with him. He was a genius in his own right,
Hmm.
so rightly so that he played this character, but he was also charming as shit when he wasn't
Hmm.
playing Avon. Avon was just like kind of like the just I don't know how to describe him. He was just awful in this great way. It's kind of like when Chekhov played Bester. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
absolutely love to hate him, but at the same time, you're like fascinated by what's really making this mother tick.
Yeah, I
And
remember
Uh,
one episode where I think it was in the later seasons when they had the Scorpius instead of the Liberator,
mhm,
and they have this young hotshot pilot, and there's very few people left on the crew from the original crew, but the lockpick guy is left, and
mhm,
he's also awesome too. He's like he's this criminal, but he's good hearted, and he just likes to pick locks, and he just doesn't want things
mhm,
to be hidden from him. And the hotshot pilot is kind of bumping heads with him, and uh, Avon takes the hotshot pilot aside and he goes, "He has an ability that is unique. You have an ability that I can find in any other space station. So cut it out, or we'll get rid of you." And I think it was like get rid of you, as in like, like
mhm.
yeah,
Because that was one of the, one of the great kind of sci-fi crime shows. If you think about it, they were
yeah,
all you know bad guys, but at the same time, you're sitting there watching them, hoping they succeed. And it was
yeah.
kind of in a way better than the Star Wars Rebellion kind of thing. That was just like so overwhelmingly, monumentally powerful that thinking that the rebels are going to win was just like a fool's errand. But yet you're
Hmm.
still in there. But with Blake Seven, you're like, these guys might pull it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
of course,
that, yeah, that's the other
whether
thing.
they
In the
feel like,
beginning, yeah, at least in the beginning, the whole crew is criminals. It's it's the hacker, it's the lockpick, it's the I think the blonde woman was a smuggler of some kind. I think she sticks around because she just starts to fall in love with Blake. Um, the lockpick, I guess he's just kind of along for the ride, and Darrow's just like Paul Darrow's character is just like just fascinated. It's this bizarre thing where he's like, "We're revolutionaries," and everybody else around him is just criminals. Like he has this weird, like Blake has this weird, like I don't know, like he doesn't see, like almost like as if he doesn't see it. He does see it because he does when he talks about it, like he understands that these are criminals, but he's like, we are the revolution, like so,
he was
it's
kind of
just
like he was kind of like how do you describe it?
deluded, no,
Yeah, kind of. He
dissonant,
was he
cognitive
was
dissonant.
yeah, he
mm,
should not have made.
altruistic, maybe.
Well, not only that, I found the actor hard to buy that he could be anything remotely successful. Maybe
Yeah.
it was because he reminded me so much of Tom Baker.
Hmm.
That I'm just like, yeah, this he's not pulling it off. You know,
Hmm.
um, and in the end, whether he does or doesn't, it's kind of up to you to figure out.
Yeah,
Because of the way the series ended.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, he wasn't in the last season. It got taken over
Uh,
by
The, the
the guy you were just talking about, the smart guy.
Caldero Avon.
yeah. Well,
Yes and no. I think
they're
he came
looking
back.
for a leader for their movement, and they find like a mob boss named Zukan, and that falls through. He actually sides with the bad guys, and then it's like I've been holding this in my pocket for a while. I know where Blake is, and that's like the last two episodes.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was cool. And Servalan, that was another cool villain.
Oh, I
They added
know,
her
I
in the
know.
second season.
Mm.
And she was a weird pick too. The show was
Hmm.
just full of these, just full of weirdos. I mean, it's funny because after a while, I'm like, at the beginning, I'm like, what? I'm not buying it. It's like, okay, it's '70s hokey schlocky, you know, but
Hmm.
then, either she like really grew into the part,
Hmm.
or it was that thing like when you're camping, and you're stuck with a limited number of people, you start becoming closer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Stockholm syndrome, maybe.
I was younger when I watched it, so I just maybe just thought she was hot.
She was hot in the weirdest of ways, though.
What character again?
Servalan,
Servalan. She's a spiky
So
haired bald lady. Well, not bald, but short hair, spiky haired lady. Like,
brunette,
yeah,
very very average, British hot, I guess.
yeah, hot for Britain,
Yeah,
hot
yeah. I
for the
mean,
BBC.
you brought her here, and nobody would give her a second glance.
And she would
Or
always wear like just these crazy outfits, like these like white feather boas and things like that.
this is Jacqueline Pierce. I don't know. I think she's not bad looking.
no, no, she's
Well,
not bad looking, but she's not more than a 7 on her best day. You know what I mean? I mean, you can go in a lot of places, and but I think she actually must have had a lot of experience in TV and movies at the time, or something, or she
yeah,
knew the right person. But she
Yeah,
she again grows on you. You
it's
you love to hate her at the end, and then you're hoping that she hooks up with Avon. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here, right?
yeah. I think
I
part of
mean,
this
they're
is the
like
act.
they're
It's the poise and the acting. Like she's acting hotter than she is. I guess. Like there
right,
was
like
that
kind of
act.
like
What was that?
Cleopatra.
Yeah. What's her name? There was the Stargate. There was like the hot goddess Hathor. She was a pretty girl, but she wasn't like the hottest girl. But somehow she just played it hot, and
Wait,
she
are
ended
you
up like
talking about my girl Marina Bakarin?
from Stargate. She played Hathor. Kind of had reddish hair.
mm,
She was a
Oh,
ghoul.
no, no, because when Marina
uh,
Bakarin cut her hair short, she lost like
Stargate.
easily like 2 charisma points, but she was still up there.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember the actress from Stargate. Uh, I'm looking it up though.
Yeah, it was all attitude for her. Like I said, she was a pretty woman, but she wasn't like, oh, this is going to be the most beautiful Egyptian goddess in the world, in the universe, I guess, in case of Stargate.
Yeah, that's why I always was fond of the charisma and comeliness stats in AD&D, because
Hmm.
they're two different things. If someone keeps their mouth shut and they're drop dead gorgeous, they're drop dead gorgeous. But then they
Yeah,
can open their mouth and lose a couple of points. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
hmm
Or vice versa. You could talk to the person on the phone and they're just charming as hell, and then you meet them and you're like, oh,
You sure it was Hathorn, not like Osiris
Hathor.
or
I'm
Hathor?
not sure. It's Hathor. Uh,
Hathor.
Let me see. Stargate. G1
Hmm.
Thor. Yeah, she's got like a bangs, kind
Yeah,
of a doll
yeah,
haircut.
yeah.
It could just be the haircut.
The haircut's hideous. Suan Braun. I don't find her attractive at all. Uh,
I didn't
I
watch
know.
Stargate,
I,
so I'm not
I
really sure who you're talking about.
Yeah.
she was a
Oh,
first season mostly villain.
I guess another space prison would be Moya. Moya was a prison or some of
Yeah,
some kind from
Farscape.
Farscape.
Really,
Yeah, yeah.
that's another show I've never caught. I am planning on trying to catch up on that. Which I was going to ask you, Justin. What would you recommend? Because I'm going to budget myself with like 2 hours every day of watching stuff to catch up. Because a lot of you guys have watched things that I like never saw it, never saw it, never saw it. And would you recommend go hitting movies first? You know, a movie, or like two
Well,
episode
if you're
series?
doing every day, pick a show
Hmm.
and do a show like maybe 2 days of the week, then just do movies for the other three, or the other way around. Um, alternate, just alternate, like because
You see what I'm saying? Because like
Because
normally I'll binge watch a show, like I did
yeah.
that with Criminal Minds. I watched like 10 seasons of that over the course of however long, and
For me,
uh,
that would have been like 2 days.
10 seasons. I don't know how you're gonna. You've got a time machine apparently. Um,
Nah, I was
it,
just like I'm
I
joking,
think
but
it
like
depends on the thing. Like if you're gonna like binge watch Stargate, for example, that's just like too many. That's too much. But well, you already seen Stargate. Or have you seen Stargate?
I've seen bits and pieces. I
Oh,
was
okay.
not
I'll
a big.
be honest.
I love the movie. Don't get me wrong. I love the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
TV show. Other than the guy who played Daniel Jackson, all the other actors were like, even uh,
Richard
what's
Dean
his name,
Anderson.
MacGyver. That wasn't the same character. He didn't act like the same character. He
Yeah,
didn't
No,
look
it's
like
not.
him. It was like,
He's not. Sometimes they hint at like the darker version of himself, but yeah, he's not as dark as the
he's supposed to
original.
be coming out of his remorse.
Yeah.
but he's
This
not Kurt
this
Um,
Russell. I mean, come on, guys. He's just
yeah.
yeah.
he couldn't hold a candle to that guy if his life
The
depended on.
like
Um
that. Yeah, that you could at least early on you could just kind of watch episodes, but then like it starts getting an arc like later on. Like you get these little story arcs, where like they have to defeat Apophis, they have to defeat Anubis, and things like that.
I'll be
Like I guess
honest
the
with you. I loved Stargate when it was on, but now pass. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
It's
see, that's the other thing I'm fighting against is the nostalgia effect.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
people say, "Oh, I love this back in the yeah," and then you watch it now. How do you feel about it? I did the same
yeah.
thing with Next Gen. I loved Next Gen when it came out. Loved it. It was great. Me and my friends would call each other on the phone during the commercials, and just be loving it. Especially the Borg episodes. I watched it a couple years ago, the whole series, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I hate this. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I freaking hate this."
Same here.
What I've been
Uh,
watching lately again was do you ever see Buckaroo Banzai with Peter Weller?
yeah. Peter Weller is a fucking kick ass.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Just watch. Just go on a Peter Weller marathon.
Well, because I was thinking, I might be better off with movies at first,
Yeah.
and if because I could knock out the movies, in a year. I could like watch every movie that everybody's ever recommended in a year. That's
Wow.
365 movies, right? Or at least, you know, 250 movies, let's say, versus, okay, I knocked out 10 shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with some of
What
the
are the
shows, you don't
what are
need
the
to watch
films you
every
haven't
single
seen?
episode.
Hmm.
What are the films you haven't seen
A lot
that
of them.
everybody's telling you?
It's woefully uh, right off the bat. There's Zardoz. Um,
You can
Zardoz.
skip that.
No, don't skip Zardoz. You need to watch
uh,
Zardoz. You need to watch like 4 times.
I mean, if you name 10 movies, I probably haven't seen 7 of them.
Well, that goes with most everybody.
Sci-fi
Star
or
Wars.
fantasy. I've seen those multiple times. I've got a kid,
Okay.
so.
Star
But
Wars. Let's see what else.
I
These Star Trek motion pictures.
saw all those. Saw it in the theater. I've seen them all. I used to have them all on cassette.
Okay.
But
That's all
like
you
the
need.
more not the bigger name, the more likely I've seen it. But some of the oddball stuff. But then again, I've seen some oddball stuff. A lot of other people haven't seen. So, but there, I'm constantly, like I saw Black Hole for the first time like 3 months ago.
Hmm.
You know,
I wish I hadn't seen that. Can I get the time back, please?
yeah, there's a lot of I watched Colossus the Forbin Project a couple months ago. That was highly recommended. I'm glad I watched it, but will I watch it again? Not for a good long time. Uh,
Yeah. Are you
Oh,
limiting this
you're
to sci-fi movies or other ones as well?
there's not a whole lot of fantasy that grabs me right now. I would like to see Dragon Slayer
Hmm.
and like Lady
Sometimes they
Hawk.
have Lady Hawk is cool. There's Excalibur. That's another good one.
I hated that one.
Oh,
right.
I mean, as a
X.
grown up, I might not, but it'll be it'll be a
Yeah.
while before I throw that one on. I'm trying to focus mostly on sci-fi, even though I play a lot of fantasy games. Sci-fi just doesn't get enough love. That's why I do this show.
Mm.
It's it just you would think that it would get more love than fantasy. It makes more sense to me, but for whatever reason, you know, fantasy
Yeah.
wins the day in the role-playing world. I don't know why.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
you could do a watch party. I know. I think Bear does those. I don't know how they work, but do like a watch party on a like maybe take a break on a Saturday from a subject and put
No,
on
I'm
like
going to have to do it during the mornings after Justin's show. Maybe that's what I'll do is on your show. I'll get some suggestions and then be like, okay, I'm going to go watch that show and
Hmm.
or that movie, and then get back to you, like on Wednesday or whatever. Like, okay, I watched these 2 movies. You know, um,
Hmm. Yeah. That might be worth doing. I'll be honest with you. I'm starting to fade fast here.
yeah, I was going to call it at the top of the hour, and my
Yeah.
yeah,
battery's like you are. Um,
Yeah. Your battery's looking like I am.
yeah,
yeah. I
it's
gotta.
oh, actually
I
less than
gotta.
that. I got 17%. So let's just
Yeah.
call it now, guys. We've been at
All
it
right.
for 2:18. We'll be back next weekend to do more of this sort of thing throughout the week. Uh,
Yeah.
Saturday, uh, we usually pick a topic. If you guys out there have a topic or a suggestion, feel free to leave it in the comments section.
Hmm.
Sunday, I'll be off the air. Monday, we'll be back for the conspiracy show with Bear and Raven, and then I'll be doing some short videos throughout the week. How about you,
Hmm.
Justin?
If Hungar does a show on Monday, we'll do one. If not, I don't know. We're definitely going to do one on Wednesday and Friday. But yeah, see there. I'm up in the air on Mondays. I really don't want to do one, but if this guy over here says he wants to do one and argues with me long enough,
Mhm.
we'll do one.
Yeah,
But
well, we'll play it by ear, see how we feel
yeah,
Sunday night because we're in a game together on Sunday.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely. And
Otherwise, you guys out there in TV land have a great weekend.
yeah,
Hopefully, this heat will break soon because I'm pretty done with it.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was it
Yeah.
was
Same
blazing
here.
today.
This
All right,
is
All
this
right.
is
guys,
good.
See y'all.
take care. Thanks for hanging out with us, George. Everybody else out there, thanks for playing along. I will see you guys when I see
I'm
you.
yeah. I'm going to get some sleep, and we'll do the freaking uh, Google Docs thing
Yeah,
tomorrow or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. No worries, dude. No worries.